Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, we are talking about toy hunting at the Toy Dome. This is a show held in Wilmington, Delaware, at a fire hall. It's a smaller show, but it's cheap to get in. Admission for regular admission is $5. It's $10 if you get in early. I've been attending this show for years, and I always walk away with some great little treasures. I went and met up with my buddy Tony from RetroCon, and we walked around the show floor several times, picking up little trinkets and talking about toys in general, the Super 7 mothership, and, whatever things we've gotten in recently from G.I. Joe Classifieds, and it turned out to be a good day. Some of the things I saw while walking around this vendor hall. One, it was a little bit of a different show this time. It was the same weekend as Toy Hio and New York Comic Con, so some of the usual vendors weren't there. So that kind of changed up some of the space. I don't think it necessarily made it better. Sometimes new vendors are great. Sometimes you get some people that aren't career vendors, and they just have something very different, or just kind of offer up something that you're not expecting to see at the show. So while we did our loops around, I found these mini vintage TMNT figures in the 2003 style packaging. These guys look like the original Turtles, scaled down. I actually bought these at Dollar General back in the day, back in probably 2003 or 2004. And I just think they're kind of fun. And it was neat to see them in a 4-pack. I had bought mine single-carded back then. This monogram T-Rex model is huge. My best buddy had this growing up as a kid, but it was broken. He had the head to it and maybe part of the body. But I remember us fooling around with the head, and his was not painted, but the one on the box looks really cool. One of the vendors had a really cool She-Ra color form set, as well as some amazing She-Ra bed sheets. The price tag on the sheets was pretty high. The color form set I considered getting, and I opened it up. It didn't have the cardboard trays that the characters stick on when they're not being used, so it was there was no real way to tell whether it was complete or not. But I have the deluxe She-Ra set and not this smaller one. If you like color forms, you got to check out the Pegwarmers episode about licensed color forms. The Toy Biz X-Men headquarters. Why was this playset not called the Danger Room? It makes no sense to me. It's got the window for Professor X to watch the X-Men battle it out inside this other part. This isn't a headquarters. There's no command room. There's no prison cell. There's no bunks. None of the stuff that makes a base or a headquarters. This is specifically the Danger Room. Maybe they had already used that name for a playset with one of the smaller ones in Wave 1, and that's why they had to call this one something else. Tony picked up a couple Pac-Man items, including this wooden Pac-Man puzzle. That was pretty cool. I can't help but shoot video every time I see the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sewer set. It is so odd and so different from the sewer sets we get today, where they're 3 feet tall. This thing was like a little tiny box that kind of hid the turtles inside, but I always shoot footage of it when I see it at shows. These Kiss figures were insanely huge. I mean, these aren't 12-inch. I don't know, are they 20-inch? Are they 36-inch tall figures? I didn't measure. But they were pretty incredible. I was looking over this array of interesting action figures and spotted this battle-damaged Batgirl. And that just seemed really odd to me. You don't see a lot of Batgirls, let alone a battle-damaged Batgirl. But her leg was warped really badly, so I did pass on her, but I was very tempted. My friend Ed Rentz was set up at the show. I've talked about him before. I'm actually going to be selling at a show he's running at Antiques on the Evergreen in Woodbury, New Jersey, next weekend. But I was looking at his table, and he had some amazing stuff. He had that black MMS, the Cobra version of the mobile missile system. He had part of the Dreadnoks Land Assault and Air Assault sets. And this battle-damaged X-Wing, the gray version of the Kenner X-Wing, was calling to me. I really like this. I've got this, bug to try and finish the Kenner line. I have all the figures, but not all their accessories, and I don't have all the vehicles. I have a lot of them. But the gray version of the X-Wing always just kind of looked better to me than the white version. And I was very tempted. Shiny as a Droid was a kid's book that I saw at the show, and it actually has like a little mirrored section on C-3PO's tummy. I thought this was pretty funny. If it wasn't bagged, I would have paged through it just to see how ridiculous it was. I always love those kind of like really goofy kid books made from not necessarily super kiddie properties. I mean, I know Star Wars is, really for like 8 to 10-year-olds maybe, and then the Droids cartoon show and everything like lowered that age bracket even. But this stuff just cracks me up because it seems like such a baby book in this format. Pulling out of the parking lot after being at the show, I saw the coolest vehicle in the parking lot. It's the Bat Van. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Bat Van. Tony and I went to a Checkers that was 4 minutes from the firehouse, and the trash can there, the dumpster, said Wastemaster on it in the Transformers font. I thought that was pretty funny. It was my first time ever going to a Checkers. I liked their french fries. What did I pick up at Toy Dome? Well, let's go through it. My first purchase of the day was a neutrino figure from Ninja Turtles. I got this from Will, who is a vendor at a lot of these shows. I get a lot of good stuff from Will. He definitely does a lot of hunting and brings a lot of good stuff. I think now I have all the neutrinos. I bought a Prince Adam Funko Pop, and I'm an idiot. I already had him. So he's going in my pile of stuff I'm getting together to take to the toy show I'm vending at next week. So maybe I can recoup my $5. Out of a dollar bin, I picked up the guard from the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves line. I don't know. He's kind of goofy, but I couldn't leave him for $1. Oh, and that same bin had this bright pink backpack. Now, I've seen this backpack before. It's actually Lowlights from G.I. Joe, and it got bootlegged at some point. Some other company started sort of remolding it. It's a little bit smaller, has a really short peg, but I had never seen it in bright pink before, and I couldn't leave it behind because Lowlight's backpack in bright pink seems ridiculous. The vendor that had the battle damage Batgirl always has bins of accessories, and I dig through them, and there's probably a ton of really great stuff if I knew what I needed. It's some G.I. Joe stuff, but a lot of just like, I don't know, like 90s Batman accessories or whatever random things there. I did grab this Snake Eyes Uzi. This goes to the version of Snake Eyes with the knives crossed on his chest. I think that's version 3. And I also got a circular saw. I don't know what toy line this goes to, but I have an affinity for toy-scaled tools. I picked up a Rick Moranis Barney Rubble figure. This is not his regular outfit. The Flintstone toy line, first of all, that Flintstone movie was unusual but great, but the toy line is just really bizarre. So I picked this guy up just kind of as an impulse. Some of you guys might know I've been picking up some of the Beetlejuice toys from the later wave that I didn't have as a kid. And this Beetlejuice answers the question of what would happen if we combined a Beetlejuice figure with the Scorpion alien. One of the vendors at the show had a huge section of his booth marked 50% off. And I kept going back and forth over trying to figure out if it was a marketing scheme and he had high prices and then was reducing them to kind of make them seem good, or if he was trying to clear out old stock. Some of the items looked like they had been drugged to and from toy shows or the flea market a lot of times. And so some of the stuff I didn't think was that great, but then there was also some things I thought were very good as far as their prices. One of the things I picked up, I don't actively collect Rock Lords, but how can you say no to Nugget for $12? This is the shiny, metallic Rock Lord. See if I can transform him here for you. There he is. Nugget in all his glory. As we were walking around, Tony and I were talking about the Kenner Star Wars mini rigs, and I was saying about how I felt like that's one of the areas that I'm missing a lot of things in my Kenner collection. And Tony mentioned that he really likes the mini rigs. And then that vendor that had a lot of things on 50% off had the small mini rig that looks like a miniature shuttle Tiberium, which I always thought was one of the better mini rigs because it kind of looks like something from the Star Wars universe. If you never got the giant version, or if they had never released the giant version, I could have seen a lot of kids playing with this as that. I just think this is a pretty cool ship, and I was glad to get it. I don't know if all of the features work on it. I've been trying to figure out how to make the wings work properly. They do fold up, and they kind of lock in place so it can land. But I've had a little bit of trouble. Oh, maybe I've got it figured out finally, to make the wings flop back down. I like to do toy news on the channel, and I recently went to New York Toy Fair, posted a pretty substantial video on there, which showed off a lot of new things that are going on in the toy industry, and I reported on some news about Toy Fair, skipping a year, and then moving to New Orleans. Seems like they're backpedaling on that, and it might be staying in New York. Obviously, I'll follow up more as more details come out, but I did find an interesting article this week about toy packaging and the significance of toy packaging. Basically, toy packaging is there to bridge the gap between the product and the consumer, right? To help connect you with the thing you're going to buy. It's got to create anticipation. I actually did a whole episode about anticipation in toy collecting. But, that packaging has to make you excited to get the toy out of the box. It has to help convey the brand identity. So, of course, it needs the logo from whatever toy line it has, emblazoned on it, so you recognize this is a Star Wars thing, this is a G.I. Joe thing, this is a Power Ranger, this is Paw Patrol. Packaging has to highlight the features, and they always do, right? Shows you what's included, tells you if there's spring-loaded missiles, if there's other kinds of action features involved. It also has to provide basic information. Things like safety warnings, the appropriate age for a toy, right? Parents need some of that information when they're making informed decisions. And it also has to enhance the shelf appeal of the toy, right? The toy's sitting on a shelf alongside all these other things. So how do you make a kid want it? I mean, I think back to like vintage Star Wars, right? Those little figures don't look that much like the characters, but the photo from the movie really does help you go, oh, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, oh, this is Luke Skywalker, I gotta get him. The article went on to talk about some trends in toy packaging, and I thought this was very interesting and kind of right on the mark. One, packaging has become more interactive lately, with a lot of packages becoming backdrops for the toys. And we saw that at Toy Fair with a couple lines, including Todd McFarlane talking about it with some of his stuff. Personalization was a trend that they mentioned that I haven't really noticed, but customizing the package to kind of increase ownership with the kids is kind of interesting. I don't know if the boxes are something you can color in and then put the toy back in, or what they're doing with that. I'm not totally sure what the article was referring to with that element. Minimalistic design we're seeing more to help the toy pop on a very cluttered shelf. So I guess they're stripping back some of the flashiness and busyness of some of the packaging from years ago. Nostalgia. Well, we all know they're doing a lot of nostalgia packaging. They want the parents to be like, oh, I had this when I was a kid. Let me get it for my kid, right? We see the McFarlane Superpowers toys and the Marvel Legends figures that are getting packed like the old Toy Biz figures, right? Of course. And then the final trend they mentioned was augmented reality to extend the life of the toy beyond the package. I noticed this actually with fireworks back, I think, over the summer. You could scan a QR code at the fireworks display at my local Target, and it would show you what the different fireworks looked like when they went off. Like, it would display it on your phone, so you knew what you were buying, which was pretty interesting. And to wrap up this episode, I'm going to show off two things that are new to the collection. I'm not actually going to unbox these guys for time purposes. I do need to keep this episode kind of short because this is a busy week. I didn't shoot as early in the weekend as I usually like to do, and I got to spend some time getting ready for the toy show next weekend. But two newest deliveries in the mail. Two new deliveries from Walmart. These guys were Walmart exclusives. I got the Range Viper and Night Force Big Ben. Now, I know that some more Night Force stuff went up for pre-sale. Wolf Spider, who's a new character, Night Force Tunnel Rat, and somebody else was just on pre-order. I missed those. I'm hoping they'll still be available at some point and I can get them. They sold out on Pulse right away, and I just didn't have the time to go look on Walmart's website. But I love what they're doing with classifieds, and I hope they just keep on coming. In the comments down below, let me know what you thought my best pickup was. Let me know what's new to your collection. thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. Consider joining our Patreon if you want to support the channel further. And thanks for hanging on the peg with me.